Ready to get your face punched in? Not literally, of course, unless you're Jeremy Dunham. UFC is next on IGN's LiveWire, so let's load up the virtual octagon and see how it's looking. Jeremy, if you will.
Thanks, Jess.
You are
hey, guys. Hey. So this is UFC 2009, and a lot of hype building up for this game. It's the first UFC game in a long time. In the past, we've been coming off other UFC games and the Pride game a while back. How has this game taken what those titles established and moved forward into what would essentially be a more realistic MMA game?
Well, I mean, you know, obviously this is the most current iteration of the UFC games. I mean, making an MMA game is hard. I mean, a lot of people shy away from it because there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. You know, the outside of a normal you know, fighting game where it's primarily on your feet. You know, incorporating the aspect of mixed martial arts, having the ground game, having all these grappling techniques that are true to the sport of mixed martial arts, and putting that into a game in a compelling and fun ways is something that's really difficult. But you know, through working with the UFC, working with their fighters, you know, kind of hand in hand in this endeavor, we really think we have the makings of something special here.
So the UFC is really known for the fighters that it has. William, what are the guys right now that you can talk about, people that are confirmed in the game, the types of guys that people can expect to play as and against?
Well, I think we've announced 9 fighters to date, including Rampage, Forrest, Chuck Liddell, Anderson Silva, Roger Huerta was announced yesterday, I think,
nice.
Along with Vanderlei Silva.
The ex-murderer.
Matt Hughes. Who am I missing? BJ Penn.
The Beach, yes. So. Can't forget him.
But we will have a total of 80 UFC personalities, fighters in the game across all 5 weight divisions.
And that's in addition to the created fighters that people can do too.
That's right.
Cool. Well, let's take a look at the game. Can we drop in and see what it's like here?
Yeah, certainly. Now, the things that we're always talking about in creating UFC 2009 Undisputed is creating a game that's true to the brand of UFC and true to the sport of mixed martial arts. So you'll notice as you're playing the game, you'll see the same exact broadcast graphics that are utilized in the actual UFC matches. Working with the UFC, we've gotten all their broadcast graphics. We have access to their fighters, to their personalities. So everything under the sun that makes the UFC brand what it is, we have access to, which is, you know, it really speaks to the close collaboration that we have with the UFC corporate office.
So you've got the same announce teams, but does that also tie into the ring announcers too, like after the fight interviews?
Oh, certainly. I mean, you know, Joe Rogan, Mike Goldberg will be making contextually accurate statements that you see. You'll hear them make contextually accurate statements in the game, and you know, we're really pleased to have them working with us as well.
Let me just jump in really quick and say, because Jeremy said it before we started the show,
wasn't me.
We never have technical problems on here when this happens, but it looks like things might have frozen up. So we're going to try and maybe potentially have somebody reboot it. In the meantime, we will continue talking, and hopefully we will have the video up for you in a little bit. Good job, Jeremy.
No problem.
Thanks a lot for that.
I'm glad to have destroyed the entire show. No problem.
Anyway, so go ahead and continue asking.
Well, why wait for it to boot up again? In terms of the gameplay, what would you guys liken it to in terms of how it feels and how it operates?
Well, our nearest competitor is Fight Night Round 3, and we want to make sure that we have a stand-up game that's equal, if not better than that. But then we take on a whole new dimension where, you know, you get to start throwing kicks and you get to take people to the ground and go through the various positions on the ground. So it's unlike a lot of games on the market. In fact, I don't know if there's going to be any game very similar to ours when we actually come to market in spring of '09.
So are you assigning the different buttons or the controls to sides of the body or specific limbs? How does that work exactly?
Well, we're actually still focus testing the best way to represent the fight on the controller. So, but you know, we'll likely commit to having buttons remain the same as you go through the different positions, because we don't want to confuse the fighter. A punch should be a punch. So,
will the gameplay change in terms of how it controls based on different fighting style? If you've got have a jiu-jitsu guy going up against a dirty boxer, is that going to change how they control on a controller level, or is it just represented through the animations and the moves that they have?
Well, different styles will have different positions that you can get into, so it will have some difference on the controller, but not much. So again, we want to keep it so that if you're playing the game, it's very easy to pick up and play. So we don't want to be changing the controls in every position, or else it's going to get pretty confusing.
Okay, well, really quick, let me hop in here. It looks like we actually have it up and running again, so go ahead and continue, but let's start seeing the actual gameplay as well.
So again, as I was saying before, the slight difficulties, we're always preaching true to the brand, true to the sport. You know, you're going to see the same broadcast graphics, same commentary, Joe Rogan, Mike Goldberg participating in the game. Everything to really draw you into the pay-per-view experience and feel it like it's right there at your fingertips. So you'll literally be able to play the entire game without need for a health bar or a HUD, so that you feel like you're right there while you know, the fight status is being displayed through realistic injuries. You'll hear commentary indicating what's going on, as well as the reactions from the crowd.
They have Mario Yamasaki in there as the referee. Do you have other well-known referees in there? Is Big John in there? And
well, you know, we've still got a year of PR to go, and we have a very extensive plan for revealing who's going to be in the game. So currently, the guys who you see are who we're announcing right now, but you can be sure that we're going to create the most comprehensive UFC experience possible. And
so you guys have looks like all the defensive moves in there: mount, half mount. You can take side mount.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's one of the things that distinguishes us from other fighting games. As well, most games offer you very little in terms of ground combat. We offer, you know, half of our moves are going to come from the clinch and grapple and ground positions. So. You know, while fans of MMA as well as novices will be able to experience this, you know, huge variety of combat available to you from the clinch, grapple, and ground positions.
This is a replay of last month's light heavyweight championship match that went 5 rounds and Forrest won it. But one of the questions we got yesterday after the incident involving Rampage Jackson being arrested was, a lot of people were worried, is that going to affect his status as being in the game? Can you guys talk about that at all?
Well, you know, I don't really have all the information about what happened. I mean, certainly you hear about it on the news. I mean, what I can say is, you know, working with Rampage, he's one of the nicest guys we've ever had the pleasure of working with. He's you know, a great human being, and I can say definitely from my perspective, I don't really see a reason why his involvement, you know, with the incident yesterday should affect anything. But you know, other than that, I think he's a great guy, and you know, we'll wait and see what happens.
Let's hop in. I think this would be a good time for some reader questions, I believe. We've got 2. So question 1, Johnny Blade wants to know, how does a player get forced into tapping in a 2-player game? Is it as simple as having to break the hold in a specific time, or is there a more elegant solution?
How timely is that question? So we just got into our armbar submission here, and it is a struggle now between us to find out who's going to win this. It looks like he's going to win it with a...
This is a sexy game, by the way. I just got to say.
Sweaty guys rubbing all up on each other.
Blood.
Totally.
So yeah, there is, once you've actually initiated the submission, there's 2 stages you have to basically go through, and the winner of the 2 stages, either you end in a submission and you tap out because the threshold has been broken, or you escape in one of a couple different ways. You just saw Rampage's signature slam there to allow him to get out of it.
Okay, now moving on to question 2 from Minna Myseri. Where do you guys get this stuff? He writes in, given the nature of the sport, fights can last anywhere from 25 minutes to less than 1 minute. My question is, will you be able to knock someone out in less than a minute?
I've knocked somebody out in 10 seconds.
I was going to say, I mean, if they suck, yes, you will.
A guy comes screaming across the ring at you, thinking he's going to dive and take you down, and you just do a jumping, rising knee, and it hits him square in the jaw. Under the hood, we're doing all the math about mass and velocity and stuff, and you get clocked like that, very few fighters could actually survive.
And again, it goes back to that idea of true to the brand, true to the sport, and you know, we want to make sure that people have the most accurate UFC experience possible, and you know, certainly while that happens, you know, that you can expect you know, a very similar experience in the octagon on your couch.
Do the old Eiffel kick to the Gary Goodridge head.
Well, UFC fans have to like the look of that. Thanks for the demo, guys. Sorry about the light hiccup. We will continue showing off E3's biggest game titles in just a little bit.